So, good evening, everyone. Mazezoke speaking to us this evening. Today is the Saturday, the 23rd of November 2019. Many of you, like myself, Mazezoke, woke up today, Saturday, with a breaking news that the US government have indicted Airpeace CEO in a bank fraud, or rather money laundering. Frantically, initially the first reaction was, oh, where is this coming from? Is this coming from the government of Nigeria instigated it, or is this being instigated by the US? There are two ways myself, Mazezoke, will look at it. I looked at it from the angle, is this real? That's the baseline. Or is it coming from the Nigerian government because it's from certain area? Then I looked at the plausibility of what is happening. I probably tend not to go along that line, because I look at the bigger picture, which is that Airpeace is wanting to get into the American market and the European market. And this is an area, uncharted water, that many African operators have tried, and they've been, run out of business somehow, one way or the other. So, according to the allegation now, so let's, I'm going to do this in multiple layers. So let's look at the baseline, which is the allegation. The United States Department of Justice on Friday, that is yesterday, being the 22nd of November 2019, charged the chairman and chief executive officer of Airpeace, that is the CEO, Onyema, with bank fraud and money laundering for moving more than $20 million from Nigeria through the United States bank account in a scheme involving false documents based on aircraft purchases. Now, there is one thing I want to make us clear. An indictment is not a conviction. An indictment means you are being investigated. So, now let them investigate. That does not mean he's guilty. He is innocent. United States government said that the airline chief of administration and finance, Onyema, had also been charged with bank fraud and aggravated identity theft in connection with the scheme. They continued that Onyema allegedly leveraged his status as a prominent business leader and airline executive while using falsified documents to commit fraud. U.S. Attorney Byung Park was quoted to have said. They quote again, I quote again, "We will diligently protect the integrity of our banking system from being corrupted by criminals, even when they disguise themselves as cloak of international businessmen." Being in approximately May 2016, Onyema, together with Egaga, allegedly used a series of export letter of credit to Coast Bank to transfer more than $20 million into Atlanta-based account controlled by Onyema. Now, Mazezoke will ask, the money in question, is it United States of America's money? The answer is no. Since morning, I have had cause to speak to several of my, friends and colleagues regarding this incident, because I find it a little bit absurd. And we have come to the realization, we review the press release that they've done, and we think that the press release by the Department of Justice, in the US, and we can deduce that it was a concussion. A concussion, Mazezoke. I am saying this loud and clear. From what they've written, from what we wrote, from what we've read, this is nothing but a concussion to curtail Airpeace growing international destination, as I alluded at the beginning. They won't want him to come to America in view of the managerial powers of Airpeace. Airpeace have excelled where every other airline have failed in Nigeria. I keep repeating it, I will say it again. An indictment is not a conviction. He remains innocent until proven guilty. If we have a government, what I would be expecting is by next week, the Nigerian Attorney General must stick their neck to protect their own brand. Remember, this is the man that single-handedly went to South Africa when the xenophobic attack was happening, and when your government could do nothing to protect its citizens. One man rose up and said, no, enough is enough. You know? Now, let us ask this question. There is a growing volume, I think these people are somehow worried that this guy is buying planes day by day, which no African man or company had tried before. And he buys these planes, he buys them brand new. Airpeace. Every other person has been expecting, Airpeace, or rather Onyema, would always go and buy third hand. No. This guy said, whatever is good for the Europeans and the Americans is equally good for my people. What I think here is there is an international conspiracy against him in order to condone healthy competition with the American route, and they are trying to stop him by any means necessary. Now, and they think if they give him landing rights, remember, it's over, I think in 2016 was when Airpeace, Onyema actually applied for landing rights in Europe and then America. But up till now, that has been delayed. Up till now, it has been delayed. Again, the allegation is that he forged papers and transferred money to purchase airplanes from his own company in Georgia. What we need to put into perspective to understand that the company in Georgia is owned by Allen Onyema. Now, he transferred money from Nigeria, and there is no way you can transfer such huge amount of money without the federal government knowing exactly the CBN. So the question is, was any fraud committed in Nigeria? And the answer is no. Now, what the US has actually done, or what is happening now, it's something that happens within big companies, big corporations anyway. If there is an issue with tax, with those, of course, yes, then slam him with fine, he will pay fine. So let no one panic, because this is not, honestly, Mazazoke will say, I don't think it's something that serious. But hey, we are in the age of social media. That's why, the thing has gone on like wildfire. How could this be true, judging from how international aviation industry is run and managed, particularly in the US? Yes. Now, how could over $20 billion have left the shores of Nigeria without the authorities in Nigeria knowing? That is the question I've asked before, and I'm asking them again. How could over $20 million have left Nigeria, and no one is aware of that? Come on, people who must think. They didn't say that the money was transferred. The money transferred emanated from questionable source, because that is one thing that is not contained in the statement. But from a Nigerian bank, it is a bank to bank in Nigeria paid into bank in America. He used the money to buy aircraft, and that is fraud. Okay, so let's so how could someone who have transferred money, who is a transferee in the US, how can that amount to fraud, my brothers? the white people are sometimes too dubious and intelligent. They sit down and they look at the future. They calculate. What is happening here is that they've seen that the Airpeace is doing. That man is going places. Give him 10 years. Delta and Co can no longer come into Nigeria. He might begin to even buy failing American and European airlines and turn them around, because this guy, he's a lawyer. He understands the law. And he's just doing these things because of his passion for the aviation industry. Like everyone, we hope that, he's not perturbed in any way, shape, or form. And that's one thing we must encourage him, that in this case, he must stay strong. There is, nothing more than that. Actually, as I've said before, there is nothing in this whole issue here. Airpeace is a legitimate enterprise. Okay? And, as things were going on, we reached out to Alan Onyema. And he said, and that is the good thing. He's not perturbed, because he sent this back, and I will read. And he said, "My brother, thank you for reaching out. Nothing more than that. It is, it is not as if, sorry. I take that again. And, Onyema said, thank you, my brother, for reaching out to me. I can confirm to you that all the allegations are false and are in no way in line with my character as a person, as a businessman who only aim is to build Nigeria and improve the well-being. As the press statement clearly stated, there are indictments that only contain charges. I am innocent of all charges, and the U.S. government will find no dirt on me because I have never conducted business with any illegality. Be rest assured that I also have my lawyers on these, and these are mere allegations and will be refuted. I never laundered money in my life. Never have I committed bank fraud anywhere in the world. Every kobo I transferred to US for aircraft purchase went through Central Bank of Nigeria letter of credit regime, and all were used to the same purpose. The American companies that received the fund are still in business. I never took any penny from any US bank or Nigerian bank. I am willing to defend my innocence in the court, in any US court. I mean, you've had it. This is, what the man himself, you've heard from the horse's mouth. However, as the conversation, because since today, that's what has been trying to say, as the conversation's gone on, another friend of mine basically had the following to say. He said that the fraud indictment of Airpeace chairman is as a result of issues with IRS. The IRS is International Revenue Services, the revenue service of the United States federal government. That is the extent which the fraud indictment covers. At the end of the day, my friend said, he may actually be in the clear after paying whatever tax obligation may be. And that is again, like I said, this is what I believe in. I believe probably there might be some, taxes that were not paid. But that does not mean that you're a criminal. Not paying tax, many of us, of course, sometimes you don't, if your tax people don't compute properly or whatever happens, if your attention is called on it, then you pay. Yeah, that is one of the things of being, being successful. You don't do your tax. One doesn't earn 1 naira or 2 naira. So sometimes, these taxes are done. Okay. At the end of the day, he may actually be in the clear after paying whichever tax obligations. Many U.S. firms often go through such conflated congression. The current U.S. president, if you guys remember, That is Donald Trump. He is at the Supreme Court of the United States fighting to keep his tax documents secret. Okay? So it's not something that is very abnormal. Whatever happened, know that Airpeace boss is a black man. A billionaire black man contributing to humanity will always be a global risk. That is the point I'm trying to make. Perhaps you don't understand, he said to me, Mazi. But if you make little effort, you would understand that there is more like targeting loopholes than discovery of, concentrated fraud. This situation was not created by his enemies in Nigeria, and I believe so. IRS doesn't work with Nigeria or with Nigerian whistleblowers. Interestingly, investigation is still ongoing. The funds didn't come from the US bank. The funds came from Nigeria. And when you move funds between US banks, it is usually suspected to be an attempt at dodging certain levies considering the Nigerian name. I think that is exactly what happens here. Sometimes the bank will write you and invite you for an interview. Of course, it has happened. I remember many years back, I transferred money from Nigeria. Then I was still in Germany. I mean, yes, that was a substantial amount of money considered by the German police. I mean, the bank wrote me to come in and say what I had that such huge amount of money. Of course. Now, if someone intercepted that letter and ran to the press that Mazi Ezeoke has been charged with fraud, that would be an abnormality, because I wasn't charged with fraud. It was only an invitation to come. And when I went in there, it didn't take me 5 minutes to prove to them the reason why this money was wired. Because if I wanted to launder money, then it wouldn't be through bank. And the same thing applies to Onyema here. So anyone that goes through the proper channel of going through the bank and you suddenly say it is fraud, I mean, that's the word fraud makes me somehow a little bit agitated, because there is no fraud here. Your money is not missing. He brought his own money to buy things that you produce. You see, Africa, that is the reason why we shall begin to make Africa work for us. If we have been producing these aircraft in Nigeria, this money would have been from Nigeria to Nigeria, and we won't be talking about all this rubbish, exposing our behinds in the world arena. I mean, there is a lot that is really, really going on. Sometimes the bank will write you, just like I've said, and tell you to come and explain yourself. And you explain yourself, that's it. So another good friend of mine, and who was a banker, basically said that he understands the game, and he understands here how these games plays out. He says, okay, listen, let me explain this to you. This is what played out here. Okay? He says, this may not be what it seems at all. It seems like a normal Nigerian businessman practice. So it is something normal. Many people will be indicted if this is considered a fraud. And I agree once more. Now, SMR continues. SMR said, it is essentially a deception of the Nigerian banking system, but which even bank executives are aware of and gets their own share, and the bank loan, and the bank loses nothing at the end of the day. The American system is not defrauded by any single penny. This is how it works. Now, Mr. X wants to buy 6 aeroplanes for his business. The cost of the 6 aeroplanes is $1 million each. That's a total of $6 million. He approaches the bank for a loan, but says the plane are $12 million. He cannot get an invoice for the aircraft manufacturers for the value of that $12 million. So he gets his own registered company abroad to issue an invoice to his own to this company in Nigeria for the $12 million. He does not claim his company abroad is an aeroplane manufacturing company. In this case, Springfield, rather an aviation trading company who will supply the planes basically. Now, the bank will give this, this $12 million. which he has to pay back, and will probably provide additional whatever it is that he will pay the loan back. The 12 million is released and transferred abroad to his company. That is, in this case, to the company that have already requested 12 million. The company pays the 6 million to the manufacturer and usually does acquire the aircraft. And the balance of 6 million is set to his own personal account. I mean, it is many people that buy property do that. That is normal. As long as you not fail to pay your loan, as long as you're not failing in repayment, then it's nobody's freaking business. It is essentially called over invoicing, and at least 80% of the business people here do it. The main difference, however, is that most times the invoice comes from the manufacturer directly. The amount on top is marginally between 2 to 5%, in real value and in actual sense. In this case, it will be about 2% of 20 million, which after the manufacturer receives payment, normally they pay commission to the middleman. You see, many people that have studied abroad will know this, because in most times, this is exactly how people who have their kids abroad fund their studies, because they need to buy the forex. So most times they are manufacturers, they are importers, they raise this money, the government gives them $500,000. Of course, they have to pay their kids. So they take about 50,000 and sponsor their kids' education. In actual sense, there is no crime. But if you dig down, if you want to go one by one, it is actually, but because it's a practice that happens, people don't really pay much attention to that. So it becomes something that has been normalized. So, again, Onyema did not launder money, and that is the crucial of the matter. It is about all technicalities. However you look at it, the question is, people should stop screaming. The man has not committed any crime. He has good lawyers. If anything, if his attention is needed, you have to go to sleep. He will deal with it and deal with it appropriately. So there is no reason to bug ourselves about Onyema, and let us not ethnicize the issue here. The issue here is, from my thinking, is more to do with the international community. The international community does not like what they are seeing, because that guy is moving too fast for their liking. That is getting all the codes right, having almost all the pilots are Nigerians, almost all the attendants there in aircraft are Nigerians. So he's creating jobs. Yet these are people, they prefer to give you handouts rather than make you create wealth for yourself. Rather, these are people that just want to come and take and extract our raw materials and run away. Yes, suddenly someone who is creating job, making the right impact, striking the right chords, it's been said that he engaged in fraud. That is arrant nonsense. Once more, this is Mazes.